Okay, so this is a key to worksheet actually topic 12, part B, and this is worksheet 1. Now, in number 1, you're given this function, and the function is quadratic, and it's 2x squared minus 3x plus 4, and you're asked to find each of these function values. Now, keep in mind that it does say for numbers 1 and 2, you must show all work to receive full credit, so keep that in mind. Okay, and it says circle the answer. Okay, so number 1, we have, so this is our function number 1. So we have f of x equals 2x squared minus 3x plus 4. And so in part A, you want to find f of 3. So remember, that's the easy kind where you're finding the function, the value of the function at a specific number, at a real number. So all you do is in place of x, you're going to substitute 3. Okay, so I'm going to get equals 2 times 3 squared minus 3 times 3 plus 4. So remember, it did say show work. So I did expect you to show this. I need to see that you are substituting. All right, and then the rest you can. Some of you can do the rest in your head, but I did need to see this for letter A. You had to show something for letter A, not just the answer. Okay. So always read the directions. The direction says show work. So if you're like, well, how do I show work? Well, that's how you show your work. Okay, so 3 squared is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. Minus 3 times 3 is 9, plus 4. And so 18 minus 9 is 9, and 9 plus 4 is 13. So therefore, f of 3 is equal to 13. Okay? All right. Now, again, that means, remember in our lessons, one of the things you saw was that if you were to graph this quadratic function, one of the points would be that when x is 3, the y value is 13. That would be one of your points. Okay, B. In B, we have f of negative x. All right, so let's go ahead and rewrite the function again. So my function is f of x equals 2x squared minus 3x plus 4. So again, in place of x, I'm going to substitute negative x. So I get 2 times negative x squared minus 3 times negative x plus 4. So wherever I saw the variable x, I substituted negative x. So this was x, it becomes negative x. This was x, it becomes negative x. Now you got to use some algebra skills. You got to remember that negative x squared means negative x times negative x. And so negative x times negative x, and negative times a negative is a positive, x times x is x squared. So this right here becomes 2x squared. And a negative 3 times a negative x becomes a positive 3x and then plus 4. And there's the answer. Okay? So remember, in the lessons, whenever you are evaluating a function at a specific real number, you get a real number as an answer. Whenever you're using a variable expression, you get a variable expression as your answer. Okay, letter C. So again, let's go ahead and rewrite the function. So f of x equals 2x squared minus 3x plus 4. This time we want to find f of x minus 2. So wherever we see the variable x, I'm going to substitute x minus 2. All right, so this is what you're going to write. You're going to say, well, that's going to be 2 times, in parentheses, this right here becomes this. So you're going to substitute x minus 2. But remember, you're squaring that. Okay, so there's going to be some work you have to do. Minus 3 times, in parentheses, this variable x becomes x minus 2. And then plus 4. All right, so now we're going to multiply all this out. So let's go off to the side and figure out what x minus 2 times itself is. So x minus 2 times itself. So x minus 2 times itself. So we're going to FOIL this out. So x times x is x squared. The outer is negative 2x. The inner is also a negative 2x. And the last, a negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. So it becomes x squared minus 4x plus 4. So that is just this part here. So this becomes 2 times this trinomial, x squared minus 4x plus 4. Let's go ahead and distribute this. So we get negative 3 times x is a negative 3x. A negative 3 times a negative 2 is a positive 6, and then plus 4. All right, distributing the 2 here, we get 2x squared. 2 times a negative 4x is a negative 8x. And 2 times 4 is 8, and then minus 3x plus 6 plus 4. And then all you have to do now is just combine like terms. And so 2x squared, that's only, this is the only term with x squared, so I'm just going to rewrite it. A negative 8x and a negative 3x, those are like terms, so that's going to be a negative 11x. 8, 6, and 4, when I add those up, that's going to be 18. All right, so therefore the answer, f of x minus 2, will equal this trinomial, 2x squared minus 11x plus 18. Okay? All right, so that was number 1. So we just took care of number 1. All right, now let's look at number 2. So number 2, we have two different functions this time, so it's very important. It is very important that you are using the correct function. So this says function f, this says function g. So it's important that you substitute these in the right functions. All right, so let's look at number 2. Number 2, we have this. And so number 2, we have our functions f of x equals 4x plus 5. So we have this linear function. And g of x is the quadratic function, negative 3x squared plus 5x. Okay? And so in part A, you want to find f of 3x plus 1. So remember, this says I go to my function f, the function named f, and that's this one. And wherever I see the variable, right here, I'm going to substitute 3x plus 1. So this becomes 4 times, in parentheses, 3x plus 1, and then plus 5. And all you do is get rid of the parentheses, combine like terms, and you're done. So the 4 times 3x is 12x, 4 times 1 is 4, plus 5. And so when I combine like terms, I get 12x plus 9. 5 plus 4 is 9. And so therefore the answer, you're going to say f of 3x plus 1 equals 12x plus 9. Okay? In part B, I'm going to do part B here. In part B, you want to find g of x plus 4. G of x plus 4. So this is your function g right here. So where we see the variable x, you're going to substitute x plus 4. Now this is a little bit more involved because it's quadratic. See that square right here? So you'd be squaring a binomial. So this becomes negative 3 times, so in place of x, you're going to substitute x plus 4. But remember, you're squaring that. Plus 5 times x plus 4 in parentheses. So let's go off to the side, just like we did number 1c here. We went to the side and we figured out what this binomial squared is. Do the same thing here. So let's go off to the side and figure out what x plus 4 squared is. So I'm going to put that here. X plus 4. So x plus 4 times itself. So using the fold method, x times x is x squared. The outer is 4x. The inner is 4x. And 4 times 4 is 16. Combining like terms, I get x squared. 4x plus 4x is 8x plus 16. And so that goes here. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this right here, here. So it becomes negative 3 times x squared plus 8x plus 16. And then let's go ahead and distribute the 5. So it becomes 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 4 is 20. Distribute a negative 3 now. I get negative 3x squared. Negative 3 times 8x is a negative 24x. And a negative 3 times a positive 16 is a negative 48. And then plus 5x plus 20. Okay? And then all you do is just combine like terms and you're done. So I have negative 3x squared, a negative 24x, and a positive 5x. That's a negative 19x. A negative 48 and a positive 20. A negative 48 positive 20 is a negative 28. And so therefore the answer, you're going to say g of x plus 4 is equal to this trinomial. Negative 3x squared minus 19x minus 28. All right, and so that takes care of number 2. All right, number 3. So let's talk about number 3. Now, number 3 is not a difficult one, but many students make it difficult. In the lesson, there were several problems that looked like that. So hopefully you review those lessons before doing this worksheet, because it's an easy problem. So in these previous problems, let's just show it this way. In these previous problems, your functions were written as equations. And so if you were to graph this, it would be an infinite number of points on this function. There's an infinite number of points here, and infinite number of points here. Here, though, this function is a finite set of points. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4. There are only 4 points there. All right, whereas over here, if you were to graph this, that would be an infinite number. So here there's only 4. So and this relation here, or this function, is negative, has the points -2, 2, 5, 6, -4, 0, 7, and -8, -1. Okay, and so in part A, you want to find f of -8. Well, remember what that means. That means f of -8 means this. Means what is y when x is -8? That's what that means. Well, you find right here where x is -8. That's this one. So if x is -8, that means my y value, this is your y value, is -1. So the answer is -1. Okay? Letter B. It's not that difficult. It's fairly easy to deal with. Letter B says, all right, I want to multiply 3 by f of -2. So first of all, you have to figure out what this is, right? So f of -2 means the same thing. What is the y value when x is -2? That's what that means. What is y when x is -2? So here's where x is -2. The y value is 5, right? The y value is 5. So this becomes 3 times 5, which is 15. So the answer is 15. So 3 times f of -2 is equal to 15. That's all that is. C, you want to find f of 6 plus f of -8. Well, that's an easy one as well. F of 6 means what's the y value when x is 6? Well, x is 6 is here, right? I mean, when x is 6, that's this point here. So the y value is -4. So that's -4 plus, now we find f of -8. We already found f of -8, but let's do it again. So remember, this means what's the y value when x is -8? Well, when x is -8, my y value is -1. And so therefore, -4 plus -1 is a -5. And there's your answer. So f of 6 plus f of -8 equals -5. That's what you found. Letter D. In letter D, you want to find f of 0 subtract 2 times f of 6. F of 0 subtract 2 times f of 6. Well, first of all, f of 0, let's find that. So f of 0 means what's the y value when x is 0? Well, that's here. So my y value is 7. So that's 7. Minus 2 times, now we got to find f of 6. Well, what's the y value when x is 6? Well, when x is 6, my y value is -4. Okay? So this becomes 7. A -2 times a -4 is a +8, right? And so you get 15. So therefore, f of 0 minus 2 times f of 6 equals 15. That's all that is. All right. And then finally, number 4 just says this. If you're told that f of 10 is -2, use this information to identify a point of the graph. Well, it goes back to what we were doing here as well. So this means that when x is 10, this means that y is -2. And so the point of the graph then, remember it's ordered pair, you're going to say 10, -2. Okay? And so number 4, the answer is 10, -2. All right, so that is the key to this worksheet. But again, remember, you have to show the work for numbers 1 and